Hello everybody and welcome into the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series live from Kentucky Speedway. We got a good one on tap for you here tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Drivers just got gridded up, just got rolling. Going to get a couple parade laps down before we get this thing going. And so with that, let's get in to your starting grid here on the night. Taking the pole, it's going to be Braden Avila for Mo Power Racing. He puts down a 31 flat here at the mile and a half, known as Kentucky. David Traylor, he will roll off second on the outside. Puts down a pretty good lap as well. Back in third, it'll be Joe Yakes, followed by Mark Beverly in fourth. Nathan Somerville in the one truck. He rolls off in fifth. Jay Stinson back in the sixth spot. Michael Newman in seventh with Jesse Wise eighth. Haas Beverly in ninth. And Keith Prince going to be rounding out your top 10 here on the night. Eric Hegdahl and Clinton Woodby going to be making up row number 6. Back in 13th, it's Jesse Calloway and John Shileno in the number 33 truck. Isaac Smallwood rolls off 15th. Rick LePage in 16th. Making up row number 9, it's going to be Lance Thompson and Robert Dudley. Andrew Hansley in 19th and Will Rainwell rounding out your top 20 here tonight. Brody Benty starts 21st, Dennis Steele in 22nd, Jonathan Herbert 23rd, Jeremy Tolley 24th, Kevin Winker in 25th with Bill Hales in 26th, Evan Schilling in 27th with Dylan Paws in 28th, Colton Hardy 29th, and Caleb Patton rounding out your top 30. Nicholas Lawrence, he will roll off 31st, and rounding out the field tonight and starting in 32nd is going to be Tyler Beverly in the 45 truck. All right, now that we got the starting grid out of the way, let's move in to your race info here on the night. It's the Nirjuana 205 here at Legacy Kentucky Motor Speedway. Again, not the new Kentucky, but was the old Kentucky. And tonight, distance going to be 137 laps. Everybody does have 95% fuel, 4 sets of tires, 1 fast repair if you need it. Fixed setups as always. Stage break at lap 55, and then 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Track length 1.5 miles in total, 74 degrees. The starting track temp here tonight. Kentucky, another one of those tracks that it's a rhythm track, but a little tough to get in a rhythm because turn 1 and 2 is much different from turn 3 and 4. We'll get more into that in just a moment, but here we go. Lights on the pace car are off. Getting ready to make the hard left turn. We'll see. Is it going to do one more parade lap? It is. We'll get one more parade lap before we do officially go green here on the night. You see the lights are off, though. So that means we will for sure be going this time. And again, appreciate everybody tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. We do have plenty of driver cams here tonight that we'll get into, but I mean, it's all things considered a pretty long race, 137 laps in a mile and a half. I mean, that's no short feat. This one's definitely going to be a battle of endurance. You're going to see a lot of guys maybe getting into their own heads here early, and that's going to really be the game, is just trying to keep it consistent, trying to keep it clean, especially through these restarts, which we know are going to be very, very aggressive. It's going to be a fun one, and we cannot wait to get this thing rolling. And up front, Braden Avila still, again, winless on the season, as is David Traylor. And really, that's 2 of the drivers that I'm just as surprised as you are to be hearing those words come out of my mouth right now. But that's the way things have set up. Both drivers have come so close so many times. Traylor and Avila, that is, but just no dice yet. Maybe tonight's going to be the night. I mean, both trucks starting here on the front row. They're going to have to watch out for a couple other big hitters. And Isaac Smallwood, I know he's back in 13th, but of course the driver with the most wins on the season. You can't count him out, and the chance that he's going to have by the end of this race to potentially capture yet another win as we start to work our way into the middle portions of the season. All right, pace car making its way out of turn 4. This time it will make the dive down to the pits for the first time here on the night. Field in the hands of Braden Avila as he works his way up to the Geico restart zone for the first time here tonight. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Kentucky. All the engines roar to life, but it's a good 2x2 start down into turn number 1. Braden Avila quickly able to scoot away on the inside. David Traylor still on the outside, side by side with Joe Yakes. Now he'll draw even with Braden Avila off of turn number 2. And the whole field all 2x2 for the most part. A little bit of 3 wide towards the back, as again, this is your time to get track position is on these restarts. Working through Kentucky 3 and 4. This set of corners is a little bit flatter, but the turn itself and radius is a bit wider than turns 1 and 2. You see quite a bit of bumps here at Legacy Kentucky. All going to add to what we see here tonight for the different lanes that you can make work. And right now you're seeing that even though Avila is making a little bit more ground than Traylor on the inside, Traylor able to roll the top pretty well, gets momentum down the straight. might have another chance as we see Michael Newman in the 12 truck. He jumped out of line just briefly before he tucked back down the line behind Mark Beverly. That is two of the drivers that we have carrying an onboard for us here tonight. We'll get to them here in just a moment. I want to stop first with John Shileno, who is in that 10th position for the moment. And right now, the driver out of Hamburg, New York. Good qualifying effort, but he's already up 4 from where he started, so he's showing you just how valuable these restarts are. Clinton Woodby, he is up 5 from where he started. And those are 2 of the Sonic Graphic Design sponsored trucks that we have in the field here tonight, so we'll be keeping an eye on them as we continue to go through this race. David Traylor, who currently still sits in second, and he will be our second stop for driver cams here on the night. Right now, just kind of coasting into Vila's tire tracks, if you will. Doesn't want to use his stuff up too early. He knows we got a long way to go, not only to the end of the race, but even to this first stage, which again is 55 laps under green. Not sure if these guys are quite going to be able to make it that far on fuel. I think it's going to be pretty close. We'll have to see as things get a little bit closer, as already we're seeing a couple guys go lap down. We've got a couple coming off the pits. That was Dylan Paws in the 99, who you see getting ready to merge back out on the track. So not sure what happened to him, but back here we got a little 2x2, almost 3x3 racing here. Off of turn number 4, John Shileno. There's Keith Prince and the 3 truck. Hop on board here with Keith Prince. Show you exactly what a lap around Kentucky looks like, and keep an eye on the dashboard speed on your bottom right. That really shows you good breakdown here. Actually, how about this? Keith Prince giving us a lot of insight here early on to what the strategy call might be. He is saving a ton of fuel, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what he does going into the corner. He's going to put the clutch in and let this thing roll. That's exactly what he's doing. That's a bold strategy that I don't know if we've seen yet this season. You really don't see it at many tracks. Everything's got to be set up just right to be able to do that with your truck. And boy, that is a very interesting fuel-saving strategy that Keith Prince has going on right now. But this might work out. There you go. I mean, you see the throttle tracing there. Gets completely out of it down through the corner. Rolls into the clutch and just lets that thing coast. He'll lose a position here, but I think that tells me that it's pretty close. And Keith Prince, for example, feels like if he saves, he might be able to make it to the end of the stage, grab some stage points, and then ultimately be able to keep some track position at the end of this race. So here's Braden Avila. Want to go to his on board. This might give us a little bit better insight, as I don't think he's saving fuel, at least not the way that Keith Prince is. And here he goes. He works down into turn 1 and 2. Notice how bumpy, and I know it's a little tough to tell from the broadcast view, but notice the way that, I believe it's concrete, is laid out here. You see it's similar pavement to what we would see at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it's almost like a cheese grater on the tires. And so I think you're going to see a lot of wear and tear and a lot of fall off here as we continue to move through the run. But right now, so far so good for Braden Avila. Looks like the fall off's going pretty well. He's got himself just about a second ahead of David Traylor. The big question is going to be, of course, how long does that last as this run continues to go on? But right now, you got Avila leading David Traylor. Mark Beverly back in that 3rd position. Mark Beverly is another one of the drivers that we have carrying an onboard camera for us here tonight. Surprising as it is, Mark Beverly, one of the drivers that actually has not gotten more than just the one win that he's already captured on the season, because he's shown a ton of speed at multiple of the tracks that we've been at so far. But good run here early tonight as he's got himself sitting in a podium position. And by the way, just a quick little side note, Mark Beverly, David Traylor, Dylan Paws, John Shileno, all part of a crew that's going to be running the 12 Hours of Sebring tomorrow. So, of course, wishing those guys pretty good luck, might be joining them for some of that race. And as we go back, can't forget about, of course, the man that we just mentioned who had a little trouble at the start, and maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum from everybody that we'll keep mentioning that's having a good day so far. And that's Dylan Paws in the 99 truck. Right now, he's in the middle of all this chaos. He's going to split 3 wide around the outside of Jay Stinson. Stinson will tuck back down the line, but again, this is not for position right now. Dylan Paws is being scored a lap down and just trying to slowly work to get whatever track position back he can get. You see a little bit of a scuff on the right side of that 99 truck, if you will. And so he'll look for maybe a crossover here on Jay Stinson, but nothing more doing right now. And then I think that's going to wrap things up for now, at least in terms of moving through the field. And we did skip over Michael Newman. He's been sitting 7th. That's where he qualified, and things haven't really changed since the start of the race. You see he's got a little bit of a pack just in front of him there. That's the pack we're actually going to turn our attention to. Clinton Woodby in the 92. Nathan Somerville in the 7. You know, coming off the race we had last week at Martinsville, I mean, I can tell you that nobody's going to really shy away from the facts of what it was. It was a wreck fest. Again, that's just part of what you get sometimes when you go to a track like Martinsville. It's a really tough track, especially when it comes to league racing. There was a lot of aggression, and not really so much give, certainly a lot of take. We did see Isaac Smallwood come home with the victory, but back to kind of the bread and butter of the series here tonight at 1.5 miles, and Kentucky going to provide a lot of good racing, but I think also in turn a lot of clean racing in comparison to what we did see last week. So looking forward to that and potentially getting to some green flag pit stops, and still this first stage setting us up for what is going to be a very, very interesting strategy call on who can make it and who can't. Kevin Winker in the 42 truck, he is down 3 positions from where he started. A little bit surprised to see the 42 lacking in speed right now as he sits back at the 28th spot, but that truck sounded a little bit quiet there as he worked his way through 3 and 4, and you got to kind of wonder here, is he maybe trying similar strategy to what we saw from Keith Prince, who by the way has fallen to 21st. Again, I think the biggest thing right here, yep, that's exactly what we're seeing. You hear him, he is completely out of the throttle, putting the clutch down, trying to save fuel, so it's really, really close on fuel, and everybody that's trying to save is, they're going to have to hope that they don't go a lap down, because if they do and we get a caution, that could put some of them in a pretty awkward position. But you see as he works his way through turns 3 and 4, I know we talked a little bit about the layout already a couple times, but the other thing to notice was, again, 3 and 4, not quite as much banking as we see over in turns 1 and 2, but a little bit of a wider sweeping turn, if you will, where again, turns 1 and 2 a little bit more narrow, but more banking at the same time. And so Kentucky, again, a very interesting racetrack, got very special characteristics to it, but fun racetrack nonetheless, and a good stop here in the middle portions of the season. The Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. Back up front, Braden Avila still leads the way in the 25 truck. Mark Beverly now up to second as David Traylor falls to third. We haven't had too much of a chance yet to see who's got a better long-run truck here in terms of once the tires start to fall off. Right now, you got to kind of put your money on Mark Beverly, who after taking that position from Traylor has got the gap sitting right around a second between him and Braden Avila. We'll see if he's able to close that over the course of the next couple laps. Joe Yates in that 4th spot, Clinton Woodby in 5th. Nathan Somerville back in 6th with Michael Newman 7th, Isaac Smallwood in 8th, Haas Beverly in 9th, and John Shilino currently rounding out your top 10, and mostly single file is the way the field is looking for the moment. The 88 of Jonathan Herbert, he's up 6 spots from where he started, but your biggest mover right now is actually Colton Hardy, who we find in the 16th spot, and he is up 13 positions from where he started this race at. Man going in the wrong direction is Jay Stinson. He is unfortunately down 12 positions from where he started this race at. And so again, I know we're going to have a little bit of a split strategy call here. And you got to wonder, anybody that's struggling, do you just maybe go down to the pits here sooner than later? You don't want to get stuck out here for too long, especially if your truck's struggling. So maybe go and get that first set of tires again. In total, you have 5 here tonight. That includes the one that's on the truck now. So 4 sets of tires sitting in the pits. And so you do, or excuse me, I take that back. Actually, tonight they only have 3 sets of tires sitting in the pits, 4 total, including the ones that are on the truck. So you definitely got to be a little bit more careful with how you use your tires here. That might explain some of the reason that some guys are trying to make it to this first stage as well. And that way they don't have to go and take a set of tires. They can just wait till we get to the end of lap 55 and then go down, top off on fuel, take 4 sets of tires, and be on a pretty good strategy, I would have to assume, at least for the rest of the way. Again, if you are just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. You're watching the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series here at Kentucky on Ghost Racing Network. The Nirjuana 205, and it's still all Braden Avila up front, but now Mark Beverly has started to significantly close the gap. In fact, he's all the way up now, just about within 2 truck lengths of the back bumper of the Mopower Racing driver. Mark Beverly already with 1 win on the season, looking to see if he can get number 2 potentially here tonight. And also now, looks like David Traylor might be starting to pull these guys back into reach here within the next couple laps. So this is where you start to wonder to yourself, is Braden Avila maybe struggling a little bit here in terms of the tires saving, and maybe has he just about used his stuff up? Here's an onboard view with Isaac Smallwood, who we knew he'd be working his way to the front. Didn't know if we thought he'd already be up 7 positions in just 20 laps, but that shows you the speed that the 5 truck has week in and week out. So as Smallwood looks like maybe burning the tires up a pretty good amount here as he's really trying to get to the front of the field. I don't know if he's necessarily planning on being good to go on fuel. I think he might just be, again, trying to grab as much track position as he can and setting himself up for the end of this stage to maybe grab some stage points if fuel strategy doesn't pan out for the rest of the field. Mark Beverly now side by side with David Traylor, who is really now starting to show a lot of speed as he jumped back. And now the Mushroom Top T Toyota Tundra starting to make its way back to the front, but Beverly actually fends it off. Nice move right there, getting down into turn number 1. So as Beverly reclaims that position, David Traylor's going to have to back up, try to make some adjustments and see if he can't do something a little different. By the way, Colton Hardy, who we talked about, is your biggest mover right now in the field. He is another one of the drivers that we do have carrying an onboard camera for us here tonight. Currently sits just behind the 28 of Dennis Steele. John Chilino in front of him, and then the 31 of Jay Stinson just behind. And showing you right now all the different grooves you can work here. I mean, we've seen guys wrap in the bottom. We've seen them in the middle. We've seen them up top and just about everywhere else in between. And that's all the different lane options that you have here at a track like Kentucky. Problem is, again, the further you go up the racetrack, the more throttle you start to put into the truck, the more tire you're going to be wearing out. So it'll be 23 laps complete when they cross the stripe this next time. Mark Beverly, David Traylor still trading punches up here towards the front of the field. Mark Beverly's got it right now, but David Traylor's trying to take it in. How about a little side-by-side cam there for the two drivers? Looks like the 54 is going to try to take a peek to the outside. You see the fire out of the pipes. Couldn't quite make it work, and he has to jump back down in line. As we also take a quick view of the lap times over the last couple laps. 32.4 is now stretched all the way to about a 32.8. Relatively consistent, at least for your leader and Mark Beverly. And my point with that is, again, showing you the fall off here. I mean, just in the last 5 laps or so, almost half a second. So, you know, I know fuel is something that these guys are trying to work at. And, of course, if you're saving fuel, there's a good chance that you're probably saving some tire along with it. But I still think if we get into a long enough run here, tires are going to be a pretty big concern. And it may come down to a matter of who's got more tire left at the end of the day. 54, David Traylor sets up a run this time. Is he going to take a peek to the inside? 54 will not. He stays patient as he's going to sit behind Mark Beverly for another set of corners. Mark Beverly getting pretty good turn out of the truck as you see him work in the middle lane there in between the two dashed white lines. And even with all the battling that these two have been going at, they have still managed to track down your leader here, Braden Avila, all the way within about 0.6 of a second. Now, not as close as they were earlier, so you do still wonder if the battling that they've got going right now is maybe using up their tires, as it seemed like Braden Avila was the one who did it earlier, but now it seems like maybe the 13 and the 54 start to fade here a little bit if they don't get this thing sorted out here pretty quickly. Looks like they may have done just that, but all that battling also has now pulled Joe Yakes into the mix. One of the Chevy Silverados in the field here tonight. And that is one of the drivers who we've already seen capture a win this season. Came at Atlanta in a photo finish with Isaac Smallwood as they crossed the stripe. Lap truck got in the way, but a win nonetheless. And Joe Yakes did show a ton of speed that race, as he's showing early right now. Just behind him, Nathan Somerville again. A lot of struggles in his first race last week at Martinsville in terms of getting himself involved in a couple of self-spun incidents. But overall, when he didn't go around, he showed a lot of speed, and wondered how he would translate here tonight to some of the faster tracks. And looks like so far so good for the transition for Nathan Somerville. Michael Newman currently sits in 6th. Isaac Smallwood in 7th. Clinton Woodby 8th. Haas Beverly in 9th. And Robert Dudley rounding out your top 10. That's two of maybe a little bit of the more underdog picks here tonight. Robert Dudley, don't believe we saw him out here last week. Haas Beverly we did, and he had his fair share of troubles last week as well. But it looks like he's got a new paint scheme on the truck here tonight. So far, so good, as again, he qualified 9th and has not moved a position since. Couple lap trucks here. That was David Traylor, maybe with a big moment there as he got on the apron. No, he's pitting. And so this will draw in the first group for pit stops. And I know you're saying, well, I thought these guys were saving to make it. Some of the guys towards the back certainly were, such as Keith Prince, Kevin Winker, but a lot of these guys up front feeling like there's just no way they're going to make it if they want to run any sort of a pace. So Smallwood, and then of course David Traylor, the first two trucks to bring it down to the pits. This is going to be, I would assume, maybe 4 tires and fuel, although it is only lap 28. Be an interesting call here. Yep, going to prop up the right side and then prop up the left side. So David Traylor looking like he's going to take 4 tires. Nope, just make it 2. Takes right sides only. Didn't need that much fuel. Felt like the 4-tire call was not quite going to be the right call. Does Isaac Smallwood do more of the same? I believe he does. And so now as the 5 truck works his way down and off the pits, he will try to start slowly working towards David Traylor. Is now Braden Avila, your leader, along with Joe Yakes, moved up to 2nd in that battle, or excuse me, moved up to 3rd after we saw Traylor pit. They're all going to make their pit stops now, so that brings in 2 more, and now that leaves Mark Beverly out with Nathan Somerville, Michael Newman, Clinton Woodby, and Mark Beverly, who are all rounding out your top 5. Looks like Joe Yakes will win the race out of the pits here. This might shuffle some things up here. Avila with a really, really interesting. I don't know if I want to call it a mistake or if it was just the strategy call that he decided to take. Tyler Beverly, he is now on the pits, and Mark Beverly looks like he's going to bring it down as well. The 13 comes to a halt in his pit box. Before we go any further, I definitely want to go see here if we can't figure out what Braden Avila was trying to... I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not sure if he took 4 tires or if he only took 2. But very interesting to see him come out where he did. So we're actually going to back this up a little bit here. Go back to this pit stop here and see if we can't figure out exactly what the 25 took here. In terms of, was it 2 tires or was it 4 tires? Oh, it was 4 tires. That's exactly what it was. And so now this is a really, really interesting kind of circumstance that he's in here. And you better believe that the rest of the field is going to be taking notes on what the 25 is able to do here, because Joe Yates only took 2. But man, look how quick Braden Avila was able to track down that 87 truck, and he looks like he's standing still in comparison. Look at the speed that the 25 has got on the outside with those 4 fresh Goodyears. And we'll compare these times right here because it's a pretty significant difference right now between Joe Yates and Braden Avila. And so Joe Yates, again, who took 2 tires that last lap, make it a 32.8. You compare that to Braden Avila, who last lap ran over a second faster. You can see there, Avila put down a 31.7. So tires certainly showing you that there is a major difference, but I think this is a lot of guys still playing that long game and hoping that maybe late in the race, Avila is lacking a set of tires, whereas everybody else has still got an extra set, or if nothing else, at least half a set. Of course, the amount of guys that did still take 2 right there, but for the moment, the lead has been handed over to Nathan Somerville. Again, not expecting Nathan to really be good on fuel. The only guys, at least at this moment, that we know for sure are trying to make it on fuel and are certainly going to be close is these 2 cats right here that are sitting in a draft. And that is Keith Prince and Kevin Winker. Let's go back to the onboard view here and see if it sounds like the 3 truck is still saving or if they decided to bail on the strategy. See the 42 just in front. Again, not sure how much they had to save. Yeah, they're still saving. So, you know, as things stand right now, I don't know if this strategy is quite going to work out. I mean, you figure we still got 20 laps to go in the stage, and David Traylor, he's tracking these 2 down, and he's the man that's just behind him. Herbert's going to bring it to the pits, by the way, in the 88. But my point is, David Traylor right now is about 3 seconds, it looks like, behind Keith Prince. And with these 2 especially still having to save fuel, there's just no way the strategy is going to work at all. So I almost think maybe you think about abandoning ship here, bailing out, making the pit stop, and just kind of biting the bullet now, and that way you'll have a chance here for stage number 2. This caution, again, comes out here in just about 20 laps. And so Nathan Somerville, Michael Newman, Haas Beverly, Jesse Calloway, Robert Dudley, and multiple others still yet to make that first stop of the night. They'll continue to cycle through as we go nonstop. We'll be right back. Stick with us at Kentucky. Welcome back to Kentucky Motor Speedway here with the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series, the Nirjuana 205. Thank you all again so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Well, so far, pretty uneventful. Of course, right now we're still in that phase of green flag pit cycles. As you see now, it looks like Michael Newman might have a chance to take the lead here from the 7 of Nathan Somerville. Now, it is important to note, both of these two trucks have not made that pit stop yet. Neither has Bill Hales, Eric Hegdahl, or Robert Dudley, who rounds out your top 5. David Traylor was the first truck to pit, sits in 6th. Braden Avila just find him in 7th. Remember, Avila's on 4 tires where David Traylor's only on 2, so that could make a pretty significant difference right here in terms of the speed for the 25 versus the 54, but we're going to be coming as they cross the line this next time. The leaders, that is, to 12 laps to go here. Actually make it 11 in the stage, an only stage of the race. So if you can get the points and you feel like maybe you don't have the best truck of the night, I think it's a great idea to try it. And we're still curious on if the guys that are saving fuel heavily can make it in. It really has put Keith Prince and Kevin Winker in a really awkward spot now because, you know, they were trying to save enough, and initially it seemed like the strategy might have been there to maybe get a stage win for one of the two, but not only has it not worked, but I mean they're losing ground here, and they're still, you know, of course, on the edge of whether or not they can make it. So I think at this point they have to stay committed to the strategy and just hope that they can make it another 10, 11 laps, because if they can't and they run out of fuel and they have to go pit now, they're going to lose at least 1, potentially 2 laps around this 1.5 mile racetrack, and could certainly bring your night to an end pretty quickly. Andrew Hansley in 12th. He's up 7 positions from where he started, and he's starting to close it on this group as well. Brody Benty is up 8. John Shilino in 14th, currently still sitting where he qualified. Joe Yakes in 15th, was now down 12 in total from where he started. So you can see this green flag pit cycle has not worked quite as well as the 87 certainly would have liked. Now they're coming up on one of the lappers. That is the 27 truck of Caleb Patton. Good to see Caleb out here tonight. He's got the Ryko set up on the side. Ryko set up shop, if you will. The driver out of Robinson, Illinois. And right now, looks like he may be able to fend off the leaders here for the next couple laps as Nathan Somerville, Michael Newman, they will stay out yet another lap here. And we got to be getting close to that point where these guys should be running on fumes. And I mean, even if they're not, I would have thought the leaders would catch up to them eventually. But I think this is still one of those scenarios where they know they're going to have to pit. And maybe at this point, since they've got some track position, just hoping for a caution to get everything all bunched up, be able to go in without having to worry about going to the back of the field or just losing track position in general. But right now it is 46, and now it's going to be 47 laps complete as they cross the stripe that time. Jeremy Tolley, by the way, in the pits. Another technical issue for the 2 truck at the start of the race. It's going to cause him to have to retire, unfortunately, early. Jesse Wise, 31st. Nicholas Lawrence in 30th. Will Rainwell, 29th. Dylan Pauls in 28th. Evan Scheiling, 27th. Caleb Patton in 26th. Rick LePage, 25th. Tyler Beverly in 24th. We'll go back to this little bit of a rat's nest, if you will, that we've got going on between right now what looked like Kevin Winker, potentially a couple others. That's exactly where it was, and this isn't all 4 position, but some of it certainly is here. As John Shilino works his way around the outside of the 42, that's another spot gained for him. You saw he was also able to get around the lapper there, the 27 truck. And here we go. Going to see a couple more pit stops here. Looks like, actually, said a couple. Looks like it's only going to be a solo pit stop here from Eric Hegdahl in the 11. And so at this rate, I mean, I think if you're Eric, I don't even know if you take tires, if it's even worth it. He stayed out and used that set of Goodyears just about to their limit, but with what's only going to be here about 6-7 laps, again, when they cross the line this next time, I just don't know if it's worth going down to the, or excuse me, when you got down to the pits here to take anything more and just a splash of fuel if you're on a strategy, similar to what we just saw for Eric Hegdahl. And act it up one more time and show you the easiest way for anybody at home that's not sure that we can usually tell what they take on pit stops. While the pit crew doesn't actually move from our point of view, they are still moving and doing stuff. So watch here as he goes into the box. You're not going to see the right or the left side get jacked up. That's indicative here that he's just taking fuel. That's exactly what the case is here. He's already back in the throttle fire out of the pipes as he's waiting to match the throttle to the floor. And as soon as that thing tops up on fuel, he's gone, gets out of there. And now looks like we're seeing a pit stop here from Nathan Somerville in the 7 truck. Again, this will be his first stop of the night. First stop under green for everybody this race, by the way. He is going to surrender the lead back over to the rightful owner, Braden Avila, who led the most laps before we came to that pit sequence. And I think overall has still had the most laps, as we have now got 50 of 137 laps complete here at Kentucky. Going to be coming up on the back bumper here of Evan Schilling in just a moment. He's going to have to decide where he wants to make the move. The good news is that in this case, the 25 doesn't have any pressure out back, so he can set up the move just about ever he wants. In fact, if he doesn't want to pass him, he may not even have to. He's got over a 1.5 second lead on second place David Traylor. Traylor's trying for all he's worth right now, but just does not quite have the speed to get up there and contend with the 25 for the moment. And I should note that this is, of course, a fixed setups league, so you know, everybody's working with the same truck here, and once we see everybody fan out, it's usually just a match of different driving styles and how certain guys wear out tires more than other guys. But right now, everybody in your top three, well, I guess I shouldn't say everybody, 2 out of your top 3 are still looking for their first win on the season, but they're all still looking to see if they can catch up to Isaac Smallwood, Mark Beverly, the next on the throne, at least in terms of your top 3, is right now he currently sits up a position from where he started this race, just in front of Isaac Smallwood, who, by the way, sits up 11 spots from where he started this race, and it doesn't end there. How about Brody Benty? Now bursting his way up into the top 5 here for the first time tonight. He is up 16 positions from where he started this race at, so whatever the strategy call was for the 63, seems like it worked out pretty well, at least for the current moment. 52 of 137 laps now complete here at Legacy, Kentucky. Again, the caution is going to fly, I believe, right at the start of lap 55. That will be the only expected stage break the entire way, so the only other cautions we'll get from there will be if there are cautions, of course, for actual incidents. So you see the 63 of Brody Benty working to the inside of the 27. Back up front, Braden Avila still leads. Eric Hegdahl looks like did come out a lap down. I believe he will be able to get this lap back here without too much of a struggle in terms of the difference in tire. 54 laps complete. White flag in the air for stage number 1. Braden Avila still leads down through 1 and 2. The closest competition is just under 2 seconds back. That means he's not going to have to worry about much more here. Just needs to keep it clean for this final set of corners. Works his way down to the middle portion of the racetrack. A little bit lower now, off of turn number 4, but no mistakes early. Things looking good, and a chance to win looking strong as Braden Avila will take stage number 1 here at Kentucky. Caution is out as David Traylor takes home second. Isaac Smallwood in third. Mark Beverly in third. Isaac Smallwood in fourth. Brody Benty in fifth. Haas Beverly sixth. John Shalino seventh. Dennis Steele in eighth. Jesse Calloway ninth. And Joe Yakes currently rounding out your top 10. All right, well, now this is the point where we certainly expect everybody, of course, to bring it down to the pits, if nothing else, to top off on fuel. But you're going to see a lot of trucks taking tires as well. We're going to get an interview with your stage winner when we come back. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Kentucky. Back live at Kentucky Speedway for the Nirjuana 205 for the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. Well, we do have your Stage 1 winner in the booth here, and I believe, hopefully he's got a copy here. Let's take a check-in with him here. Braden Avila, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
I gotcha.
All right, well, Stage 1 winner. You don't quite have your teammates all the way at the front just yet. Isaac Smallwood, though, making his way there. Eric Hegdahl may not be too far behind. He's got a little work to do, but right now the focus is on you. You get the Stage 1 win. Truck looks fast so far. How you feeling about your chances here tonight?
Feeling pretty good. Just got to keep the tires on it here as we head into this last stage. See how it goes. Hope for the best.
Well, I know we talk a lot about tires, but we got to talk quite a bit about fuel here. Looks like we're going to go green with somewhere right around 77 laps to go. And so how you feeling about fuel here? Is it looking like a one-stop? And if so, do we see any tire strategy play as we did in that first stage where you took 4 versus a lot of guys taking 2?
I think you're going to see a lot of guys taking 4 this round, especially since we're going to have to go about 35-40 here. Definitely looking like a one-stop. Got about 45 laps of fuel, so see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you giving us a couple quick words. Again, congrats on the stage victory. We'll see if we're talking to you again in victory lane here tonight.
I hope to see you later on.
All right, and we'll go ahead and move him back down here. Give me just a moment. So, Braden Avila, the 25 machine from Mo Power Racing. And again, it's almost a little bit of a flip the script kind of night here, at least so far, with Avila showing the speed. We're used to seeing Smallwood up here in the last couple weeks. It's been the Smallwood, Hegdahl, and Avila show, but right now it's all about Braden Avila. May not be for long, though, because Isaac Smallwood, see, sits 4th, 2nd on the outside lane. And so we'll see how quickly he's trying to split 3 wide here, get around David Traylor back into the restart zone. Stage number 2 is underway. 77 laps to go here at Kentucky. Good start for the 25 truck down into turn number 1. He will get clear and by plenty. All the racing is out back. Mark Beverly, David Traylor, and Isaac Smallwood. Looks like Smallwood is going to keep the truck low enough to get some momentum and hold the 13 from going any further. He will get David Traylor clear before he gets himself clear. And now Smallwood just has one truck separating him and his teammate, and that is David Traylor. So, you know, we saw as much coordination as we did last week in Martinsville, and the teammates were able to get lined up, even though it wasn't a track like, let's say, Daytona or Talladega. And I think that just kind of furthers the point that it's always good to have teammates around you. And the closer you can get them to the front, the better, as long as you're not having to hurt yourself in the process of doing it. Mark Beverly in the 4th position right now. Brody Benty still up 16 spots from where he started this race at. Haas Beverly up 3 just behind him in 6th. Michael Newman back in 7th. Jay Stinson 8th. Clinton Woodby 9th. Kevin Winker rounding at your top 10. And, you know, this run, there's a good chance that we actually pull up a couple other big hitters into the mix, such as, say, a Kevin Winker or a Keith Prince. And the reason I say that is simply because, as it stands right now, we just heard it in the interview with Braden Avila, not going to be able to make it on fuel. Potentially going to have to take 4 tires as well. So I think anybody that we saw saving fuel in the first stage, I don't think they're considering that so much as an option this time around. Again, once we get to lap 67, it's going to put us at exactly 70 laps to go. 35 from there could get you there. So we'll see if guys go a little bit further here during this first run, or if they try to short pit it and they go a little bit longer on that second run. As they start the double file and single file out, let's head over and see what the schedule is looking like for the rest of the season for the for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. Let's see, as things stand right now, we've already ticked off just about a couple of handfuls of tracks throughout the season. Kentucky Motor Speedway Legacy Edition this week. The next week we're going to head to the second road course of the season with Mid-Ohio. Phoenix Raceway after that, followed by the Brickyard, Indianapolis, and then it's Texas Motor Speedway before we head off to Iowa, and then Daytona International Speedway, but rather the night race is what is going to be capping the regular season out here for this series. And boy, really excited for that one. Is going to go back now and want to get another onboard view here with John Shileno, who currently sits in the 11th spot. We mentioned him earlier and haven't mentioned him since because we didn't want to give him the broadcaster's curse, but again, so far everything looks like it's going really well tonight for the 33 of Shileno. I believe he's learning some things as he continues to run in the draft, and one of the things he's learning right now probably is that 42 truck is pretty fast when he doesn't have to worry about saving fuel. And it looks like we're going to see another move there from Kevin Winker down into the corner. Going to try to pick off the position right here from Haas Beverly. That could get a little sketchy coming off the corner, but looks like they're all going to yield, figure it back out, and get things sorted out. Haas Beverly currently sits in that 9th spot. So up front now, Braden Avila. Look at this. The gap already up to a 1.5 seconds. As things stands right now between him and second place running David Traylor. Now we did get to see in that first run, we were going there for a while, and if I think if Traylor didn't have to worry about battling Mark Beverly, the strategy would have worked out well. But my point that I want to make is that saving tires here makes a difference, and we were seeing that with David Traylor again on that last run before he started getting really racy with Mark Beverly. So, you know, maybe doing the same thing here. Traylor just making sure he keeps the track position, but not using the tires up any more than that. And then all of a sudden, what will happen here is by the time that we get towards the end of the stage, they're going to all start reeling in that 25 truck yet again. But David Traylor, for the moment, does lead this 4-car charge with Isaac Smallwood, Mark Beverly, and the 63 of Brody Benty down the Alabama gang back straightaway here at Talladega. 67 going to be 68 laps complete this time. Again, nobody anywhere near the fuel window at this point. When they hit 70 laps, it'll still be just under 60 laps to go in terms of what you'd have to make on a can of fuel. It's just not going to happen. So the point is, I think you try to split this thing somewhere right down the middle, which from the sound of it, I think that's exactly what Braden Avila is trying to do. But if these guys start reeling him in and he's able to just hold on just until we get to, of course, that pit window, I think that would be a very good chance to go in as soon as possible, short pit, try to undercut the field and retain the lead that Avila's been holding here for so much of the night. Another quick reminder that just after this race concludes, well, not just after, but relatively soon after, Ghost Racing Network going to be heading over to Super Speedway Kings with Jimmy Crow Money Racing. The last couple weeks, we have seen sold-out fields with multiple Pro Coke Series drivers. So if you want to see some Super Speedway action after this, make sure you go check that out. And then I believe, give another shout-out here to John Shileno. That race, again, it's going to be run tomorrow in the LMP2 class for the 12 Hours of Sebring. I believe John Shileno said he would be streaming the entire thing, so make sure you go check him out on that. Good-looking scheme here tonight, and going to be hopefully a good run for them tomorrow. Bill Hales, he's up 12 positions from where he started now, as he currently sits in that 14th spot. Just in front of him is Joe Yakes, who has been consistently going the wrong direction here tonight. Really just not the way he would have liked to see things going. I mean, how about this? We started the night with 32 trucks, and we are already down to just 19 guys still on the lead lap. Everybody else is either a lap down, multiple laps down, or is retired from the race due to damage or technical difficulty. So, I mean, I don't blame Avila now then for the strategy here. I mean, you see that with everybody leaving, there's a good chance this thing's going to stay green for a while. Get up there and go for it. Run some qualifying laps. Maybe he will burn the tires off here to a point of no return eventually, but if he gets a big enough of a lead, it's probably not going to matter. Now, again, that draft does stick around all the way back to about 1.5 seconds, so Avila's not out of the clear just yet. David Traylor not going to let him go either. He will be following that snake draft if the 25 decides to do it, just doing anything in his power to be able to stay with this leader right here. And so we'll see what the exit was looking like off of turn 4. They look pretty good, at least from everything we could see. Here's a little 2x2 action. You got John Shileno, Keith Prince with a tandem on the inside down the front stretch as Kevin Winker is going to drop low. He got clear of both and said, I don't think so. Gets back up into turn number 1, and ooh, looks like the 22 Haas Beverly almost shot the corner. Another one of those interesting things that we see here with Kentucky is, you know, the corner, all things considered, not too different from what you'd expect for a similar mile and a half. But especially the case for turns 1 and 2. If you get out of shape, it's just so hard to save it because there's really just nowhere to run. And we haven't had any wrecks tonight, so none of that has mattered at this point. But, you know, if we get a late caution or something, it's certainly going to shuffle some things up and lead us to a potentially very, very interesting finish. Braden Avila still leads the way here at Kentucky Speedway. David Traylor second. Isaac Smallwood back in third. Mark Beverly in that 4th spot. And Isaac Smallwood's actually going to take that 4th spot, so Mark Beverly moves back to 5th. Brody Benty in 6th. Michael Newman 7th. Jay Stinson 8th. Clinton Woodby in 9th. And Kevin Winker in 9th. And John Shileno running at top 10, so I apologize there. I think I missed somebody. 25, though, of Braden Avila. Now 74 laps under his belt. When we hit 80, closing in on 57 to go, that'll be just a couple laps over the distance of stage number 1. And again, things are very, very spread out for the moment. A lot of separation means a very low chance for a caution. In fact, pull up that track map again and show it to you. There's your leader, the blue dot crossing the start-finish line on the bottom of that scoring, or excuse me, track position map. You see, it doesn't look like the next lappers are going to be an issue till, if I had to guess, I'd say probably another 10 laps or so. But we'll see what Brayden Avila decides to do to try to counter all this. And the 75 laps now complete of 137. David Traylor in second, Isaac Smallwood in third, Mark Beverly in fourth, Brody Benty fifth, Michael Newman sixth, Jay Stinson in seventh, Clinton Would be back in eighth, Kevin Winker ninth, and John Shileno currently rounding out to your top 10. Let's go through the rest of the field and talk about the Knights and what ended up happening to everybody that we no longer see on the track or multiple laps down. Jeremy Tolley, his night came to an end early with the issues he had basically right out of the gate. Jesse Wise looks like he's retired. Not sure the reasons on that. Michael Lawrence back out on track, but again, he is multiple laps down for now. Will Rainwell currently sits in the 28th spot. And again, another driver who had struggles right off the start. Andrew Hansley down 8 from where he started. And then you got Dylan Pauls in the 99. Just in front of him, Evan Schilling in the 18. Lance Thompson 24th. Rick LePage 23rd. So on and so forth. Again, I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's still tuning in here tonight and watching. And gonna be honest, it's been a little bit of a long day here back home. So if I sound, again, maybe just a little bit underwhelmed or a little bit more tired than usual, it is probably because I am the latter of the options, extremely tired here tonight. But again, watching these guys go at it, certainly a good way to spend your Friday night. So as we approach 9:20 Eastern time, we continue to see a lot of good racing in which Isaac Smallwood has still not been able to find a way behind David Traylor or way around. And speaking of the devil, caution is out here for the first time tonight. I believe this may have been a couple lappers right here. Will Rainwell, who we were just talking about, who had the struggles right at the start of the race. Looks like those struggles are going to continue right here. Here we go. Watch the 17. Is he just an innocent victim that runs into this, or does he maybe give a little help to somebody? This is coming off of turn number 2, by the way. And I don't see really anything from that view, so we're going to have to take another shot of it here. Ooh, boy, there was some definitely some argy-bargy going on here. That's the 27 of Caleb Patton, and is go down to the corner here. Will Rainwell sends it in, and boy, that thing washes straight up the track. The 27, I know he hit the wall, but I mean, even if he doesn't hit the wall here, he's got nowhere to go. They're going to make contact nonetheless. I mean, watch how close this gets. And of course, they obviously do eventually door slam, if you will. So we'll see if that's a fast repair worthy hit for Will Rainwell, or if he's able to get that fixed optionally. And then, of course, not sure for the 27 of Caleb Patton how bad the damage is for him. But everybody else, again, somehow able to miss that one. As we go back live, though, is Brayden Avila leading the way. David Traylor in second. Isaac Smallwood third. Mark Beverly in fourth. Brody Benty 6th. John Shileno 7th. And Michael Newman 8th. Haas Beverly 9th, and Jay Stinson rounding out your top 10. These guys keep moving around. Looks like it's actually Jay Stinson still in 9th. And so we'll see. Do the lights go off on the pace car this time? Looks like they do not. They're going to stay on. At least one more time. So with that knowledge, we're going to take another quick break. Go get yourself a drink of water. Meet us back here for the restart in just over a lap and a half. Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway for the Nirjuana 205. Already halfway through the race, but still quite a bit of action to go. 82 of 137 laps complete to be exact. And when they cross the stripe this time, it'll make it 83. And now all of a sudden you start to ask yourself the questions, how close is this in terms of fuel mileage? Based off of what we saw in stage one, this would be right at the window for guys trying to save, but we saw that strategy didn't really work out. So I think we're still expecting a green flag pit stop here. You just got to, of course, hope that everybody does have a set of tires remaining, of course, for that stop, and then potentially for a late caution if we were to get one. Green flag back in the air. Another good jump for Bray Navila, who at this point has been putting his stamp all over this race, has been putting on a clinic. Now, we did see a lot of guys come down to the pits during that last caution. Not necessarily quite everybody, but it looks like just about. And so now, pretty even battle going on in terms of tire wear for everybody on the racetrack. Braden Avila leading the way with the 5 of Isaac Smallwood in second, fanning out 3 wide behind. And these restarts, as you would expect it, just about any track that we've been to this season, they're going to get more and more aggressive. 4 wide, here we go. Kevin Winker going to shoot to the inside. You can go down below the apron here at Kentucky, but man, things still going to get pretty tight down into the turn. 3 wide, Kevin Winker on the bottom. He'll get clear of the 4 of Jesse Calloway. Now Calloway looking to fight back as he'll go to the middle here with Joe Yakes. More side-by-side, 4 wide again. I don't know if this is going to work very long. And now some contact, as I believe that was John Shileno that got sent pretty deep into the corner. Oh, now the 88 of Herbert out of shape. He's able to save it down on the bottom of the racetrack. Oh my goodness. Boy, that was a stressful lap. Hold your breath. Looks like everybody is finally going to start to get things a little bit calmer. Things will tame down a little bit here. But still 3 wide as now it's Hegdahl to the outside of Haas Beverly. And look at this. He's going to try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone as now he'll split the middle again. This time it's on Brody Benty and Joe Yakes. And Hegdahl on the outside. Yakes to the inside there of Kevin Winker. All the guys that you kind of figured would have speed here tonight starting to show it now as they know it's becoming a battle of track position as you need to set yourself up for that final green flag stop that we could see at any time, potentially right around lap 100. I think that'd be a sweet spot for it. Maybe lap 112 if you want to make it an even 25 to go. But again, this right now is just all a battle for that track position. David Traylor, he's going to slip back a few spots there. As you saw, Kevin Winker was able to get clear. 54 though. Overall been having a pretty solid night, and he is on a podium streak. And between him and Keith Prince, the amount of podiums these guys have split on the season is pretty remarkable. Look at add on another one here tonight, and he's getting ready to see some more chaos in front of him. There's Kevin Winker, Eric Hegdahl. They both find themselves fanning out 3 wide yet again. Hegdahl's going to get the position, but you see that a track like Kentucky, there's a lot of transition in terms of momentum. I mean, a guy gets clear and then he loses it. And so Avila, by the way, who is now handed over the lead, that is all a product of those guys not pitting versus some of the guys that we did see pit. So again, to a degree, you know, you don't want to maybe necessarily say it's completely by design, but it's a strategy call. And that's exactly what Avila, Brody Benty, David Traylor, they're all hoping on right now, is that the strategy call that they made plays out, because all the guys that took new tires, if this thing stays green the rest of the way, it could potentially put them in a little bit of an awkward position. So now up front, you got Clinton Woodby leading Keith Prince, Jay Stinson back in 3rd. Michael Newman in 4th with Bill Hales in 5th, Kevin Winker 6th, Eric Hegdahl in 7th, Joe Yakes 8th, Isaac Smallwood 9th, and Braden Avila has now slipped all the way back to 10th. But we're going to go back to this battle right here. 2 by 2 for the moment, but I'm thinking they're getting ready to fan out 3 wide yet again. Isaac Smallwood now on the top of his Mo Power Racing teammate, Robert Dudley on the bottom. Tyler Beverly, he's got to push, but he's got nowhere to take it, so he'll have to bail out of the gas a little bit early. Checks up for the 25 of Avila now. Tyler Beverly's going to look a lane lower here, tries to jump in just behind the 28 there of Dennis Steele. Steele, by the way, is up 13 positions from where he started this race at, so another driver making a ton of progress. And you saw Colton Hardy right there. Boy, he went really, really low on the apron. He was trying everything to see if he could get a little bit more grip, maybe make a couple more spots, but just didn't quite work out right there. And Colton Hardy, by the way, not on the lead lap, so at this point he's another one of the drivers that's really just hoping for a caution, and the only thing he's fighting for is that lucky dog spot, which he is currently battling Tyler Beverly and a couple others for. So that's why you see the 16 continuing to try to advance his position, as we have now completed 90 of 137 laps. Back up front, Clinton Woodby, again, first laps being led of the night for the 92. Good looking paint scheme as he's got, of course, as always, the Sonic Graphics design, the winning bid, and Nirjuana, all the sponsors on the truck that we see for the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. Keith Prince back in second. Him and Jay Stinson will now draw side by side through turns 1 and 2. Go to the onboard view here for Keith Prince, and you see he was working as hard as he could, but Stinson just too much momentum on the outside. Not much really that Keith Prince could do in that situation. So he yields a position for now, and he'll gear up to see if he can maybe get in a position to start fighting back for that position momentarily. And now Keith Prince, who currently sits in 4th, is under fire from Kevin Winker in the 42, who is now up to what is going to be that 5th position. But I said under fire, maybe not quite yet. That's actually Michael Newman, who was in 4th and is now going to move up to 3rd. That's he was on the outside of Keith Prince. So Kevin Winker, who is back in 5th, is a little bit of a ways back. In fact, if we look at the track map, look at the separation already. Again, we've probably only been back green here for, 10 laps or so, and we're already about half a track length's worth of separation between the leader and the last place running car on track. So definitely things really fanning out so far. 93 of 137 laps complete. Once you hit that lap 100 mark, that's where you really start to mind your P's and Q's and really start to set yourself up for what, again, is going to be that final green flag stop of the night. The window, I should know, the window I believe is open. If you're playing it really safe, I would say maybe the window opens here more so, and we'll call it 4 laps, but I believe the window might actually be open now, but still really early to go in to take that last set of tires. And if you're one of the guys that pit here, maybe you don't even have a set of tires left, or of course I meant pit under that last caution. So if that's the case, I got to think you're trying to run this thing as long as you physically can. And of course, you're hoping you don't get a caution. If you do, though, maybe you can try to play some sort of strategy to bail out of it. But yeah, definitely an interesting setup here for tire wear towards the end of this race. We've got half the field on new tires versus half the field on old tires, and almost an inversion of all the guys who had been dominating all day now find themselves further towards the back of the field, and all the guys who had been kind of creeping, lurking in the shadows, if you will, most of the day now find themselves in the spotlight in front of the field here at Kentucky. By the way, as Michael Newman had pulled up to 3rd, it has not taken him long to pull up to 2nd either. Now knocking on the back door here of Jay Stinson's bumper, and he's going to be setting himself up to make a move here in just about the next lap or so. Good looking paint scheme as always there for Michael Newman, and there's the driver cam showing you the laser focus that he's got right now. And so all those guys that, again, did not pit that, we would assume here have that extra set of tires. What is going to be the difference? When do they pit? You'd almost think they'd have to do it sooner than later, the longer you wait. Again, this is assuming they have a set of tires left. If they don't, that's a whole different story. But for what we're assuming right now, that's what we kind of expect. We're going to be coming up on lap 100 here in just about a handful of laps. So as the leaders continue to a degree, walk away with this thing from the guys who had showed so much speed earlier, is there any strategy that they can use to bail them out if we don't get a caution? Clinton Woodby still leading Jay Stinson. Michael Newman 3rd in line. How about a little crank it up at Kentucky? Here we go. And that'll do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope you all enjoyed, and that is because pit stops are underway. Clinton Woodby is going to lead Jay Stinson and Kevin Winker down to their stalls. And this is expected to be the final green flag stop of the night, and they did wait till right around lap 100. Thought maybe it could go a little bit longer if you wanted. I thought, honestly, we were going to see a couple guys maybe wait until we got closer to 25 to go, but 37, a good area to do it at, and these guys feel like maybe that's a little bit closer to splitting it in half. So Woodby, so he's going to prop up the right side there. He'll take rights. Question is, does he have lefts left? Yes, he does. So he'll put the left side stickers on as well. 4 fresh tires for the 92. This is going to set him up here with still a good shot at this, depending on how all the pits cycle out. Jay Stinson, though, it'll be a drag race out. Looks like advantage to the 31. He gets down below the 92, so Stinson's going to pull away here on pit exit. What an execution there for Jay Stinson to pick up a position during the pit cycle. Kevin Winker stays third in line. And so now this hands the lead over to Michael Newman. And these pit cycles can honestly take all the way up till just about 10 laps or so to go to cycle out. So we'll see if everybody decides to kind of follow the leader here, or if we get somebody that tries to gamble and maybe stay out and hope for a caution. I think if we had to take a guess on somebody that would maybe be willing to gamble, I think Michael Newman would probably be a pretty good guess, but before he does anything else, he's going to get himself out here and get some laps led. Keith Prince back in second, Joe Yakes third, Bill Hales in fourth, Nathan Somerville fifth, Eric Hegdahl in sixth, Dennis Steele seventh, Jesse Calloway eighth, Haas Beverly in ninth as he brings it down to the pits. Robert Dudley 10th, looking for anybody else that maybe brought it down this time. Doesn't look like really anybody at this point. Is now David Traylor, Brody Benty, all the guys that had so much speed earlier. Braden Avila are now finding themselves as a couple of the last trucks currently sitting on the lead lap, and at this point there's not really much they can do. Again, I'm not sure if they even have a tire set left, so if they do, they're going to obviously take it around this green flag stop. They're still going to need the caution, but the biggest fear, I guess, if you will, for the leaders at this point would be that you don't go a lap down and you see where they're running versus where the leader's running. They're still good for now, but again, tire fall off's a big deal, and if the leader's going to get stickers and they just going to top off on fuel, that could definitely make a pretty big difference here for the rest of this race. So you got Michael Newman currently rolling the middle just behind him there. Keith Prince on the bottom. He's got another bottom feeder behind him there, if you will, and Joe Yakes, and then that was Will Rainwell looking to get a lap back. He's running the top. And then just behind them, kind of the bridge, if you will, the 53 of Bill Hales. This is not for position either. Nathan Somerville, who is in fifth. He's having another stellar night tonight. Can't say enough about the job that he's doing here again as a rookie. First race last week, didn't again quite go the way that maybe he planned, but he's been making a pretty good comeback here tonight. Got himself back in order pretty quick, and so far so good. Looking to cap things off with a season best in just his second race of the season here tonight. All right, well, as the pit stops continue to work their way through, let's talk just briefly about what the point standings are looking like after last week at Martinsville. And no surprise here, Isaac Smallwood still leads in the points. Of course, he's already got a win. In fact, he's got multiple wins, just about a handful of them. And so he's got himself locked in the playoffs. David Traylor, Mr. Consistency, sits in second. Eric Hegdahl in third. Braden Avila fourth. Kevin Winker fifth. Keith Prince in sixth. Joe Yakes back in seventh with Mark Beverly in eighth. Jay Stinson ninth, and Bill Hales currently rounding out your top 10 in points for the moment. I know team points are a pretty big deal for a lot of guys. Maybe not quite as much in the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series, but we do still have the teams nonetheless. And if you had to pick a team that's been the most dominant so far this season, I think you'd have to give the vote to Mopower Racing. Of course, with Isaac Smallwood, Eric Hegdahl, Braden Avila, two drivers with multiple wins, looking to get that third driver his first win. Of course, in Braden Avila, man, it was looking like such a good opportunity here tonight, but as the laps continue to go on and things continue to wind down, and the more it spreads out, the less and less likely the chances that we get a caution, and the more it sets us up for a potential battle all the way down to the finish here between Jay Stinson and Clinton Woodby. Stinson right now in the 31 truck currently sits in 8th, Clinton Woodby in 9th, and everybody in front of them again has yet to pit, and includes Jesse Calloway, Dennis Steele, Eric Hegdahl, Nathan Somerville, Bill Hales, Keith Prince, and Michael Newman. And so these two, they know they're not first on the track right now, but they know that what they're doing is battling for the lead. So I like what Woodby's doing here. He's been in this position quite a few times this season, and he's showing a lot of poise, a lot of patience here. As Michael Newman is actually going to lose, well, not lose in position, but he did have a lap on those two, not anymore as they get around. So we'll see if that maybe draws the 52 or the 12 in. No, it looks like he's going to stay out another lap. Woodby gave it a shot there down the back through 3 and 4. There was nothing doing. So he has to tuck back down in line, and now he's going to have to slowly gear that move up again. Over the course of these next couple laps, he'll try to track down Jay Stinson and set up another move. But just a couple laps from now, we're going to be coming to 25 laps to go. That's really starting to wind down towards the end of this race. 205 miles, the scheduled distance. We're almost at the end of that. All right, as the pit cycles continue to work their way through, we are going to be setting ourselves up for one final battle towards the end of this race. We are going to take one final side-by-side break. We'll be right back. Stay with us at Phoenix. Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. Michael Newman making his pit stop. And with that, that will change hands for the lead. Nathan Somerville will take over. Eric Hegdahl moves up to second. And when everything cycles out, the man we expect to be scored as your leader, Jay Stinson. And just as we say that, Eric Hegdahl, he's going to make his stop in the 11 Red Bull truck from O-Power Racing. And now that only leaves Nathan Somerville out. Now again, 21 laps to go, getting ready to be 20 to go. One thing we know for sure is that with the pace that the leaders have been running, and that includes Nathan Somerville, he cannot make it. Doesn't matter how long he stays out, doesn't matter what he tries, it's just not going to happen. So unless we get a caution here, and I would say probably about the next 10 laps, he's going to have to pit, and he's not going to wait that long. Here comes the 7 for his final stop. Ooh, man, gets squirrely. The back end starts fishtailing around, but he is going to be able to get it down to pace speed. And so a nice job right there for Nathan Somerville. But by doing that, working his way through 3 and 4, look what this is going to do. This will officially hand the lead over to Jay Stinson in the 31 truck. One of the guys that came over, of course, from the NOMA Truck Series, looking to see if he could go fight for a championship this season. And now he has got himself in one heck of an opportunity here tonight. Had a decent truck, needed a little bit of help at some point in this race. He got it with that awkwardly timed caution, took tires, got back out there, put himself in position, and now with what's going to be just 19 laps to go, he finds himself over a second, or 1.2 seconds rather, ahead of the 92 of Clinton Woodby. And now if you're Stinson, or if he's got a spotter in here, whatever the deal is, somebody's got to be letting him know, man, save your stuff. You got a good gap. The worst thing you can do right here is burn it up, especially if he doesn't have anything laying in the pits here, and we get a late caution. So Clinton Woodby does still sit in second. Kevin Winker's in third. By the way, Winker is up 22 positions from where he started this race at, and as of right now, he's trying to track down second place. Clinton Woodby, he's 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds actually, behind your leader. You wonder if he's got enough to maybe get all the way back to the front. Don't know if that's quite the case, but he's certainly going to try it nonetheless. There you see the 24, that's not for position. That is getting a lap back, and in fact, it's actually a pretty good looking paint scheme, but that is Rick LePage. So as he goes by the inside here, should be able to get clear of Winker. Looks like he's able to do just that down the back straightaway. So Woodby and Winker again going to be battling this thing out all the way to the finish. Joe Yates back in fourth, Keith Prince in fifth, Isaac Smallwood back in sixth. Braden Avila currently sits in seventh. And now you start to wonder, does the 25 maybe have a little trick up his sleeve here? I don't think there's anything I'm missing here in terms of the strategy play, but he has certainly picked up a couple more positions. I do think no matter what, though, he's still going to need a caution. I mean, he's almost 11 seconds back from your leader. I think even if you were on fresh tires, that would be quite a bit of an ask at this point in the race. So Avila's just going to keep working behind his teammate right now. Isaac Smallwood, who again sits in sixth, and all these guys can really do is just hold for a late caution and maybe have a chance at it on a late restart, because the way things are set up right now, I just don't see it happening for the man who led the most laps here tonight. And on the flip side, one man's unfortunate is another man's opportunity. That's been the case, again, for Jay Stinson. But, you know, I think the move of the race, especially if this thing ends as it runs right now, is going to have to be the move that Jay Stinson made on the pits, where he was able to come out just in front of Clinton Woodby. Woodby tried to fight back, but, man, that clean air is so important at all these different mile-and-a-half tracks that we head to, that I think just a little bit of that clean air as these tires start to wear out is all that the 31 of Jay Stinson needed for this truck to really come to life and start continuing to crawl his way to the front. By the way, while I have a moment, I do want to say, for anybody tuning in here tonight, of course, first of all, we certainly appreciate it, but please do let me know how everything has sounded and looked here tonight. Has anything been too loud, too quiet? Have the graphics looked okay? Again, a little bit tired here tonight, so a couple things sometimes a little bit harder to focus on than usual, but nonetheless, believe I've got everything set up correct. Just please let me know. It always is very appreciated. And then, of course, just after this, as noted, going to be heading over to the PGR Esports YouTube channel, where we'll be broadcasting Super Speedway Kings. And that's going to be a fun one. Talladega Super Speedway with some of the best of the best. Again, over 5 pros in the field last week. Sold out field. Looking for more of the same this week. And we'll also be back, of course, next Friday with the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. I know we talked briefly about the schedule earlier and what to expect in the coming races, but next week, going to head to a road course, so another wild card. It'll be 60 laps, by the way, at Mid-Ohio. Then we go back to a short track before we head back to some of the big tracks, and then Iowa and Daytona rounding off the regular season. Looking forward again to both of those. But Jay Stinson continues to see victory getting closer and closer here. 13 laps to go. And he is probably keeping an eye on that gap. The good news for him is that it just continues to expand, stretching out further and further. The 92 of Woodby has now fallen almost 3 seconds. Now it is going to be 3 seconds as they work into turn 3 behind Jay Stinson. And so Joe Yates starts to bring himself back up into the picture, the 87. Another one of the guys who was trying a little bit of strategy. I believe he'll get around the 92, but as each lap goes by, you just start to wonder about more and more drivers. You know, do they have enough to get any further? Kevin Winker thought was going to be battling for that third spot, but it's like he may have used his stuff up as now Keith Prince, Joe Yates, they'll go by and pick off those 2 spots. And Yates, again, looking like he wants more here. He's going to try to get around Clinton Woodby. Now, if he can get around here quick enough, never want to say it's officially over, because it's not over until it's over. And if Yates gets around here in the next lap or 2, maybe he's got enough speed to try to track down your leader. 10 laps, 3.5 seconds He's going to have to make up probably at least about 0.3 of a second each lap. But we've seen crazier things happen. Can't forget about what Isaac Smallwood was able to do in the last couple laps at Darlington. Wasn't quite able to get the win there, but man, he gave it a heck of an effort there towards the end. And so now the 92 of Woodby going into a little bit of a defensive mode here as he's trying to take away the air from whichever truck has the momentum. Was able to go to the middle that time. Took the air away from the nose of Joe Yakes. As he dives back down on the front stretch, he'll switch over here to Keith Prince, and looks like he may be able to ultimately fend off that position. Looking at the track map, mostly clean track ahead for Jay Stinson. Looked like there might be a little bit of a wave of lap traffic ahead that he might run into before this thing's all said and done, but that would be it before it got wrapped up. And that looks like it contains the likes of Jonathan Herbert, John Shileno, along with the 24. And so these guys shouldn't be too much of an issue here. And in fact, like I said, I'm not sure if he'll even catch them here before this race is over. So again, with everything being set up the way it is, Stinson is in cruise mode, but I bet you he is going as quick as he can right now to see that white flag, because at this point, caution is the only thing that I can see that would take the win away from this 31. Back to the battle for a second. Woodby versus Prince versus Yakes. Prince now on the back bumper of Clinton Woodby. Oh, and he gets a good arc. He's going to try to dive it down, but now Yakes goes 3 wide. Keith Prince slides the bumper in front. That'll get Yakes tied off at turn number 4. Keith Prince draws even side by side down the front straightaway. Yakes has a little bit of a run here. Does he try to jump down? No. Looks like he's going to stay in line for now. No third lane available just yet. But he'll wrap the bottom here. Maybe going to try to get Keith Prince and himself clear before he thinks about making another move. And so Prince picks up that position. That sends Clinton Woodby back to the 3rd spot, getting ready to put him back to the 4th spot here as Yakes dives down into turn 3, and he's going to pick up a spot. Michael Newman in 5th. Again, the man who's on the freshest tires right now, if anybody else, so he may be in a spot here to pick up a couple more spots before we get to the checkered flag. 7 laps now to go for Jay Stinson. You know, we see a lot of guys that kind of run both series, again with the Noma Truck Series and then the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series, but it's been a little bit of a rocky start to the season for Jay Stinson. He's had speed, especially in big moments, but man, it was just one of those things where you knew it was a matter of time before he got the right setup in terms of race pace, and boy, it has been working out tonight. Fixed setups overall, but in terms of the tire strategy, he has come out on top, and he is just a meager 5 laps away from being all but secured in terms of the victory for this race here tonight. Again, needs to see that white flag before he can breathe easy, because anytime before that, we could still get a caution. That would bunch things up, and I can tell you right now that that is not what Jay Stinson wants to hear. Further back, Isaac Smallwood has actually fallen back to 9th. You know, we saw him and Braden Avila up inside the top 10. Avila has now fallen outside of the top 10 as he's going to lose another spot right here. And a couple guys diving low further back, and one really struggling on the inside right there. That's Lance Thompson, it looks like. The 13 of Mark Beverly, along with, I believe that's David Traylor, going to go around the outside of him with no issues. Mark Beverly back in 13th, Traylor 14th, Jesse Calloway in 15th, Haas Beverly in 16th. Brody Benty back in that 17th spot with Jonathan Herbert in 18th, John Shileno in 19th. A little side-by-side action between these two right now. Shileno on the outside, Herbert on the inside. And then Robert Dudley rounding out your top 20. Colton Hardy 21st, Tyler Beverly 22nd, Rick LePage 23rd, Evan Schilling in 24th, and Andrew Hansley rounding out your top 25. Now 4 laps to go as Jay Stinson looks like has caught some of that lap traffic. John Shileno, first man on the chopping block. Looks like he should be able to go around here without any further incidents. By the way, how about it? One of the newer sponsors joined the Noma Truck Series here this season. Of course, there was M&M, and then there was Rhino Linings of Bristol. Jay Stinson put that company on the car and looking to potentially go to Victory Lane with that new paint scheme. That'd be the first time, of course, this season he went to Victory Lane would be with that paint scheme. So now 2 laps away from making this race official. He's got one more truck to maneuver around. After that, looks like it'll be clear sailing officially the rest of the way. He's going to choose the outside lane here as he works his way around Herbert, going back to battle for second one more time. Michael Newman has gained some more ground here as he's going to get around the inside of Joe Yakes. Next up will be Keith Prince. We'll see if he can get all the way up to second, but he does, again, move into that podium position as we take 2 laps to go. And man, you got to wonder for Michael Newman, if we still had, I don't know, say maybe another 10, 15 laps, does he have enough tire to go track down your leader? But with just 2 laps to go, 1.5 now, just not going to be anywhere near enough. Herbert and Shileno continue to battle out back for position as they fell a lap down to Jay Stinson, but as Stinson comes out of turn 4, he sees the thing he's been waiting to see about the last 30 laps, and that is the white flag. 1 lap to go at Kentucky. 2 sets of corners, and with just under a 3-second lead, he can cruise from here. No worries. Keep the eyes forward, out the windshield, nothing out back. Jay Stinson gets through turns 1 and 2 clear. Final set down here in 3 and 4. The 31, we've seen him get the job done before in the NOMA Truck Series. First time in the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. It took a couple races to get used to it, but he figured it out. No longer going to be in a drought anymore. Jay Stinson wins it at Kentucky. Keith Prince brings home second, and Michael Newman rounds out your podium here tonight. What a race and what a win for Jay Stinson. It was Braden Avila who dominated early, but man, during that last pit cycle, once things got finished up, it was Jay Stinson, and it was all Jay Stinson from that point on. A very, very well-deserved victory. He's going to come over here to the start-finish line and burn this thing down as he should. While he does so, let's talk about your finishing results here on the night. Jay Stinson, of course, gets the win, first win of the season for the 31. Keith Prince brings home second. Michael Newman in third. Joe Yakes in fourth. Bill Hales in 5th, Clinton Woodby in 6th, Kevin Winker in 7th, Nathan Somerville in 8th, Eric Hegdahl in 9th, and Isaac Smallwood rounding out your top 10. Dennis Steele finishes in 11th, Braden Avila in 12th, David Traylor 13th with Mark Beverly in 14th, Jesse Calloway 15th, Haas Beverly in 16th, Brody Venti 17th, Jonathan Herbert finishes back in that 18th position. Rounding out the top 20 tonight is going to be John Shileno and Robert Dudley. Colton Hardy finishes 21st, Tyler Beverly 22nd, Rick LePage in 23rd, Evan Schilling in 24th, Andrew Hansley 25th, Nicholas Lawrence in 26th, Lance Thompson 27th, Dylan Paws in 28th, Will Rainwell 29th, Caleb Patton in 30th, Jesse Wise 31st, and it's going to be Jeremy Tolley rounding out the field tonight. He finishes in 32nd. All right, well, we are going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We will be right back at Kentucky. All right, back live at Kentucky Speedway. Going to start first tonight with your 3rd place finisher, Michael Newman. Michael, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you bring home a podium tonight. Strategy plays out pretty well, but I mean, the big turning point for just about everybody that finished in the top 3 was the strategy off the last caution that we had in the race. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to make the call and ultimately how you felt about your race.
Yeah, felt pretty good, especially coming into it. Made the comment before the race started back at a speedway, so I was happy about that. Stage 1 went exactly how I wanted it to go. Did not take tires there when I did pit because I figured, if anything, I'm going to come out probably 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. And if I did take tires, I'd only use them for 3 laps just to get new tires again. So figured keep them for later in the race, and it happened to work out perfectly. Definitely thought I had a winning truck, thought I had a shot to win there, and my strategy played well. Messed up a little bit entering pit road under green flags there, so that's on me. Ultimately, between that and then had 2 trucks kind of not really show much respect, and that's as much as I'll say there. But still, I'll take the 3rd.
I was going to say, nonetheless, you still bring home a podium tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out you for putting on the league every single, or the broadcast every single week. All the Beverleys for putting together this league. Ultra Federal Credit Union for sponsoring the truck, and then everybody that watches, including my girlfriend. So thank you, everybody that supports us, and hopefully everybody's having fun watching.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for talking to us, and we will see you out here next week at Mid-Ohio.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You as well. And now, that'll bring us to your second place finisher here on the night. One of the two that we call Mr. Consistency, and that is Keith Prince. Keith, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, you bring home a second place finish here tonight. Looked like through that first stage, you tried a fuel-saving strategy, and did that ultimately kind of help you make a decision on the strategy you wanted to play later in the race?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I had to save fuel to get through the whole stage, but it wasn't really so much about saving the fuel as it was to get through that first stage and not have to take an extra set of tires. I knew if I pitted, I would probably want to take them and run. I was like, well, if I can stay out, maybe I get some track position. I lost a little bit from the start, but having that extra set, I said, if there's the way this track burns up your tires, especially the right front, if we get a caution, unexpected caution, I'll have that extra set. And we got that one shortly after the break, allowed me to get new tires and drive near the front and just started riding and kind of went from there.
Absolutely. Well, you keep up the consistent finish is going to continue to keep you in good point standing. Now, next week, we head to a bit of a more wild card event, Road Course Mid-Ohio. How you feeling about it?
I feel like I need to do some more practice. I've never raced there, just bought the track for this season. I went in there a few weeks back, kind of ran a couple of laps, but it's definitely challenging. So we'll have to put some time in, and hopefully we can keep it on the track and get a good finish.
Sounds like a plan. Well, before we let you head out tonight to go celebrate the second place finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, man. Thanks for you for always doing such an excellent podcast. It's always fun to watch. My wife for letting me come in here on Friday nights and participate and have fun with these guys. The Beverleys putting in the work on this league. Of course, my teammates, give credit, David, Brody, Evan, Rick. They didn't have the best run. They kind of were on an opposite strategy. We tried two different things, so at least one of us get up front, and it didn't work out for them. But some of the things we went through in practice kind of helped me get where I was at. So I have to give a lot of credit to them.
Well, thank you again for talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you out here next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your winner here on the night. First win of the season for Jay Stinson. Jay, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Austin. Yeah, man, I got you, buddy.
Well, man, you get the job done here at Kentucky. And if I recall right, last time you got a win in either a series, in any truck series that I was broadcasting was over in the NOMA Truck Series at Kentucky. A little bit of a different finish in that one, but here tonight you pull through with dominance towards the end of the race. And ultimately, it seemed like from up here, the winning move came on pit road. How did you manage to get by the 92 there during the pit cycles, and how did you pull away from everybody after that?
So you are right. Kentucky was my last win on New Kentucky, and everybody had to wreck and die for me to get that win. But this one a little bit different. I got to thank the 92. Clinton made a classy team maneuver. It was a race off pit road. He told me to go ahead. It had been tight and close, so he let me go ahead as we were going to race down pit road. So stuff like that helped out a lot, and then we kind of just got tandemed up and went through the field the best we could. We had fresher tires. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather, so.
Under the weather and still getting the job done here tonight. We won't hold you for too much longer, but now that you got that first win out of the way, we still got quite a few mile and a halves on the schedule. Feeling like you're going to get another one here in the next handful of races or so?
I'd like to. That's kind of my bread and butter. We run a lot of that in some other series I run in, and they seem to be favored that way. If I can get my strategy and can get some practice in, I'd like to steal one or two more before the end of the year. There's a lot of great drivers here, so it's hard to get one. So when you get one here, it's you just savor it and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, before you go savor it and enjoy it tonight, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Well, obviously, I'd like to, of course, thank you for always broadcasting. You broadcast for us in another league. You always do a great job, so it'll be fun to go back and watch this one. Of course, the the league owners, the Beverleys, Mark, Haas, Tyler, all those guys for putting this league on and allowing me to come in here and race. They don't have to let me race, and they do, and I appreciate that. And then the sponsors, of course, for this league. Asphalt Outlaw League has been a fun league, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And Nirjuana and Sonic Graphic Designs. And then, of course, they have the Diecast auction that support and allow these guys probably to do what they do and not put as much of their own money involved in it. So got to thank those guys. And then my teammates, Southpaw invited me into their Discord tonight and asked me to run with them. And I can't thank them enough. So I'd like to thank the team owner, Will, Clinton, for, again, another classy move there on pit road. Without that, I don't win. Dylan and Colton. Me and Colton worked well together pretty much the whole beginning of the race. And, we pitted right. We did the right things. We worked together in the Discord. And, we was able to come out and have a great run for the team. So just like to thank those guys.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on your first win of the season. To many more to come. And until next time, we will see you out here next week.
All right. One more thing, man. Yeah, baby.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you what a race it was. And what a win it was for Jay Stinson. That is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Kentucky for the Nirjuana 205. I want to say thank you all again so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be back again next Friday with the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series at Mid-Ohio. Coming up just after this over on PGR Esports, we head to Super Speedway Kings. Make sure you tune in for that one. Going to be a good one. Until next time, that's it for me, Austin Green, here on Ghost Racing Network. Have a good